With me to discuss all of this is Christian de Boissieu. He's chairman of the Council of Economic Analysis. Christian, thank you for joining us on the show. There's so much concern, actually, that the expense scandals we've seen play out in the papers over the last couple of weeks is going to hurt President Sarkozy's ability to push through these reforms. Are you concerned that we won't be able to take the tough measures?
You know, my view is that despite the political difficulties, we have to continue. That is, we have to implement the pension reform, and also we have to implement those budgetary adjustments. That is, we have to reduce our public sector deficit and debt. I would say from next year, at least, there is still a debate about the optimum timing. But my view is that we have to present a credible program which could start from next year.
Now, Mr. de Boissieu, in the Figaro of this morning, there are reports that Madame Lagarde, the French finance minister, may have to actually downgrade her forecast for 2011. Are you concerned about this?
It is sure that it will have some impact on the budget, next year budget. This budget was prepared with an assumption of a growth around 2000.5 for next year for GDP growth. And in light of the most recent event, not the political event in France, but I would say the world economy, the US, Europe, and the world, it is likely that we will have to revise. But may I say that the government assumptions must also be somewhat normative. You must have a normative content in this kind of assumption. It is not only a forecast.
Now, we were both in the south of France over the weekend where Mr. Nouriel Roubini said these austerity measures are going to hurt growth. We also heard from Obama's economic advisor that we shouldn't cut too much here in Europe because that's going to have an impact on the US.
Yeah, on the US, but we have to do something because the Eurozone crisis is not over yet. And we are under the pressure of the markets, and we must avoid any kind of spillover on Spain and some other southern countries. And therefore, my view is that we have to work on the two legs. First leg, we have to reduce our public sector deficit. And second leg, we have in Europe and also in France to implement an activist growth strategy. And the two are consistent, could be compatible, provided that we cut the right expenditure. That is, we put pressure and more pressure on current expenditures, not on investment, public investment. We have to make more efforts as regards R&D, innovation, the development of SMEs, universities. Those items must not be cut.
So if these two legs are indeed nurtured by the government, would you say that a double-dip recession is out of the question in Europe?
This is my view. I don't believe in the W scenario or double dip. I think that we could, and we have in Europe and also in France, we have to implement also an activist growth strategy which could be consistent with cuts in public expenditure, provided that we choose the right cuts and provided that we finance some of those expenditure through some other means. Just to give you a concrete example, PFI, Private Finance Initiative, we have to appeal to them more extensively than before. We have savings in Europe, in France. Our problem in Europe and in France also, which is in Europe, is to channel more private savings to finance sustainable development, green growth, etc.
Mr. Christian de Boissieu, thank you so much for joining us.